That sounds terrible. That sounds like if somebody pitched it as an idea, you'd just throw up everywhere because you'd be like, it's so disgustingly cheesy. What's wrong with you? But because it's always going wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it never takes itself too seriously, apart from when it has to in the dogfighting scenes or in the plane scenes, it totally gets away with it. So everybody here, thank you for joining me as always. And that's right, it's a late night Monday video like you're listening. Do you remember those radio shows back in the day? They're probably still on the radio now, I just don't listen to them. It was like called Late Night Love with me, Ian McGillan. And he would talk really close into the microphone like this. And probably should have done ASMR on YouTube and made a hell of a lot more money than they did. Anyway, this goes back to the video we did last week. Whenever the hell it was called, I'll try and remember to put a card up there, but I'm stupid and I'm an idiot. And I forget where I thought we're going to start doing double uploads as and where we can. And the second upload that will go out later in the day, I get, time differences different all across the world, is kind of going to be some random stuff because every now and then I just want to talk about nonsense. And that is one of these things, as you've seen by the title. Because over the weekend, I finally got to see Gun Maverick, Top Gun 2, the sequel to Top Gun. And I want to tell you this. I love Top Gun. Top Gun is one of my favorite films ever. I feel like it's like a rite of passage when you are growing up. And even though a lot of, crazy stuff going on in that movie, I just think it's genius. I think it's excellent. And obviously it was the movie that turned Tom Cruise into a super duper megastar, which he's still doing now, even though he's almost 60. And I don't want to get too, off the beaten track here, but it's crazy that he's almost 60 years old and he looks the way he does. Now, I know he's had a ton of work done, and I'm sure he's had millions and billions of dollars spent on his face, but that's still good work. When I see an expensive cake, I don't go, well, it's all the money there. I go, wow, man, that cake looks really good. So what I've just said, essentially, is that Tom Cruise has a cake face. I don't know what that means. Anyway, this is what I want to talk about. I went in very, very skeptical because I'd read the reviews. Even my dad said it was a good movie. He also said it was ridiculous, but I've never, ever heard my dad say that. So I was like, if this isn't the greatest sequel I've ever seen in my entire life, I don't even know how I'm going to handle it. But I tell you today, no, it wasn't the greatest sequel I've ever seen in my life. That's not true at all. I put it in the title just for some hyperbole. But Flood Me Sideways, it is absolutely brilliant. Like, you couldn't have actually done it better. This was my feeling when I was leaving the cinema with my girlfriend, who also enjoyed it, and bless her heart, on the Friday, she made sure she watched the original Top Gun just so she could understand what was going on. But honestly, you could not have balanced it better, even though it is super duper cheesy. Like, you get all the callbacks to the original movies. Instead of playing volleyball, they have a game of football, but they're all in their tops again, and they've rubbed oil, all of that kind of stuff that you want to see. They have Gooses Son in it, which would be, I don't want to say the most obvious plot device you could do for it, given what happens in the first one. Spoilers, but come on now, it's like 1986, whatever the hell it was, probably earlier, later, I don't know. So if you haven't seen it now, you've had plenty of time. And they get into the whole relationship between Maverick and Gooses Son. And so it's called Rooster, I think is his cool name. It is his cool name. So straight away you're invested. Like, I've watched that original movie 100 times. So now you're like, oh my gosh, that kid that was sat on the piano. And even that piano bit. The kid was sat on the piano watching his dad play Great Balls of Fire. So obviously in this movie, when he first arrives, he sits down on a piano and plays Great Balls of Fire. That sounds terrible. That sounds like if somebody pitched it as an idea, you'd just throw up everywhere because you'd be like, it's so disgustingly cheesy. What's wrong with you? But because it's always going wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it never takes itself too seriously, apart from when it has to in the dogfighting scenes or in the plane scenes, it totally gets away with it. And the character of Maverick, who, he still lives up to his name, right? He is still a Maverick, and he's still being kicked around the Navy from here to there because nobody actually wants him, even though every now and then they're like, oh no, you're just so good, so we're going to have to use you. He becomes the teacher of all these recruits because they have to do this impossible mission that they're not ever going to be able to do. And of course they do that mission. I don't even think that's a spoiler because it's so obvious, but you still get a little twist in there, another spoiler warning for you, where Tom Cruise gets shot down. We're just going to Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, it should just say Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. And Rooster, Goose's son, turns around to save him, even though it's again protocol. And then they have to steal this enemy jet, which is also ridiculous and would never work in 1,000 years. But the camaraderie between them is awesome. The script and the dialogue is really, really good. You feel that relationship grow throughout the movie. So when they do get out of there, you're like, hot damn, that's right. You save yourself. There's also a guy in it called Hangman, who is the most swamiest person ever. And I did some reading about this, and I'm so happy it happened. The actor, I can't remember his name, originally auditioned to play Goose's son. Didn't get it, but Tom Cruise and Paramount and the producers and Jerry Bruckheimer were so impressed with him, they basically wrote or expanded a role for him. And honestly, he is the most, you just want to punch him in the face. He has such a wonderful, come on, I dare you to punch me grin. And he couldn't have played it any better. And that is the same for literally every single person in it. Nobody drops the ball. I mean, I will say this. Jennifer Connelly is in it as the love interest. That's not really explored that much. It's just her and Tom Cruise used to date. Now he's back on this naval base. Oh my gosh, they're dating again. But as far as I know, she just runs a bar. yet she drives a really expensive car and has a really expensive boat. So I don't know what's going in there, but I think that kind of sums up the silly nature of the whole movie. Like, everybody is living a quote-unquote perfect life. Except for Maverick, who is going through all these emotions constantly and, has an internal fight within himself. But again, Tom Cruise is very, very good in it. He just is. And you have everything with Val Kilmer as Iceman too, because what soon becomes apparent is that Iceman, ever since their buddy, you can always be my wingman, no, you can be mine from the first one, they have stayed friends. And while Val Kilmer, Iceman, has gone on to become an admiral, a 2-star admiral, whatever it is, and obviously Tom Cruise, Maverick, is still captain because he's too crazy and he can't climb the chain, Iceman has kept him in the Navy. That's why he keeps moving around, because Iceman always steps in and says, no, we're going to put him here. And if you know about Val Kilmer's recent condition, I believe he had throat cancer, so he can't speak. So they tie that into the movie, and Iceman basically dies during the film of this illness that he contracts. I think it's something that comes back, I believe they say. But you have this incredible moment, this incredible scene between Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, where Val Kilmer is typing stuff out on a computer because he can't talk. And once again, you think, well, was he Stephen Hawking? Like, it sounds terrible, but it's not. It's genuinely emotive, and it's genuinely very, very well executed. And then I believe he says some things at the end, which is basically like, Maverick, you got to do it for these kids. I believe in you. And I believe they digitize Val Kilmer's voice. And we've kind of seen what's happened with special effects with, facial reconstruction mostly. But I don't think if I had read that, if I hadn't have read it, I would have even picked up on it. So once again, it's just all these little things they tried to put in there because they sat down and thought, well, these are the things that these are the boxes that we have to tick. Even though they really do go full Hollywood with it, I don't even care. I had such a good time. I think it's 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. It does not feel like that at all. It zooms by, and the scenes filmed in the planes, the F-18s, are ridiculous. Now, again, who knows how much of this is true and it isn't true, but I did my research, so I always like reading about a movie when I'm done with it. No CGI was used. Everybody had to do it for real. So in the first movie, only Tom Cruise could handle the G's in a jet, and of course he flies them now. So everybody else was basically attached to one of those NASA gimbals to recreate it. This time, obviously the majority of the cast weren't flying the planes, they went up with pilots, and they fitted cameras to the cockpits. And I think the director, I can't remember his name either, basically said they had to direct themselves. They taught them how to do this and how to do that, and they couldn't look out the side of the window because it was a bad shot, etc. And one of the actors even said it was like a competition. Who's not going to throw up? Who's going to be able to survive the G's? And I started thinking about this. I've done a little bit of acting over the last year, and it'd be cool to get some roles here and there. Obviously, if you got cast in Top Gun 2, you would take it. But it's one of those things you're like, I'm pretty sure I'd just be vomiting everywhere. I don't think I can handle that many G's. I think it would be crazy. So I think that brings an even higher respect for what they've done here. And it just adds to the movie. Like, when they're doing all these maneuvers, I don't know if you can actually do these in real life or whether they're stunts, etc. Who even cares? But they just look so damn cool. And when it comes to the main mission, they basically have to fly through this canyon at a really low, altitude. And they have to do this weird up and down swingy thing, and they have to go, pull their nose up so crazy it gets to 10 Gs, and you can pass out when you do that, which has happened to one of the guys. And honestly, you know what's going to happen, because there's no way they're going to take too many risks with this, because they don't need to. It's a love letter, it's an homage. But my word, it drags you in. And it drags you in, again, because every single thing they put together just works. Like, it's incredible. Even the cheesy bits. Like, after Jennifer Connelly and Tom Cruise have sex for the first time, Tom Cruise is sneaking out because he doesn't want the daughter to know because they've had a bad relationship in the past. So he falls down, of course, for no reason, who is stood in the garden, even though that's like a sociopath thing to do at 11 at night. It's the daughter who has magically come home from her friend's house where she was supposed to stay. But once again, reaction's great. Dialogue great. Everything just works. Gives you a little of a pang. I am so amazed how it is even better than I thought it was going to be. And my expectations were already sky high because I'd read the reviews. I had Graham Miller, my dad, review, and I just heard all the word of mouth. And this is why it's gone on to become, I believe, Tom Cruise's first ever $100 million+ opening weekend. The amount of box office, that it's taken. I think it's almost beating the Batman now. I think it's up to almost 800 million worldwide. It's just going to keep growing. It'll probably smash over 1 billion, which is kind of incredible for a sequel, which is like 30 years in the making. And I suppose this brings you into another conversation. I mean, my favourite sequel is always going to be Batman sequels because I'm obsessed with Batman. Like, all they have to do is have Batman sit down and play chess and go, I'm Batman. I go, 5 stars because I'm an absolute loser. But, I mean, I'll forget stuff now. But, the classics, Terminator 2, Godfather 2. I mean, there'll be others that I'm not thinking of now. I was about to say Jurassic Park 2. No, that's not a good film. Jurassic Park 1, not a movie, but you know what I'm talking about, remains the best one. But, of course, there are other ones that you would have to talk about. But I think it's right up there. Like, I truly, truly do. I was amazed about how they could even do this. And I know that Tom Cruise is kind of a controversial character, but in terms of what this will do, I think, for how people see him in movie roles, I think it's just going to take him up to the next level. How can you get higher than Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise used to be the bar. If somebody had come up to me and said, who's the most famous actor in the world? Tom Cruise is up there. Maybe Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks. But Tom Cruise may go, yeah, whatever, boys, and absolutely smash them. So I'm massively intrigued. I'm now doubly intrigued to see what they're going to do with the next Mission Impossible called Death Stranding or something. No, that's the Kojima game. I can't. Death Protocol, who even knows? That they're splitting up into 2 parts because Harry Potter did it once and now we all have to do it. And I do like those movies as well, but they are kind of, does exactly what it says on the tin, which is perfectly cool. Whereas this one had to tie into nostalgia, and this one had to tie into an insanely long wait. Like, imagine it had been rubbish and not a patch on the original. That would have been doubly worse than just a random movie that comes out. And it's different to Mission Impossible as well, because they honestly come out every year. I know they don't, but it feels that way. So yes, if you are sitting on the fence and you're a fan of the original, I tell you, go and watch it. You get a silly volleyball scene, not a volleyball scene, that's the original one. You get a silly American football scene that you'll certainly enjoy. And while we are here, just throw it in, talking about kind of sports movies, but not really. Go watch Hustle as well with Adam Sandler on Netflix. That is excellent too. So I had a great weekend of watching movies and I just wanted to share it with you. Again, I doubt these videos are going to do crazy views, but double upload seems to be a thing that lots of people do and they have found a lot of success with it. I always have something I want to talk about and I didn't really think, what platform do I have to talk about it? So I thought I'd do it on here. I know it kind of breaks the YouTube rules, pick a topic and stick to it, but we'll see what happens, right? We'll give it a few weeks and we'll go back from there. But otherwise, Top Gun Maverick gets 67 out of 9, mostly because I think review scores are stupid. They don't mean anything. I get why people do it, but you give something 5 stars and someone goes, well, isn't it 4.75 stars? But I suppose if we were going to do it on a 5-star ranking, I would give it 5 stars, but I'm also a very soft touch. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Give the bell ding ding so that video's going live. There will be another video on the screen. Please do give it a click. I'll try and find an old movie review I must have done and put that there in case you are interested. Did I do one on the Batman? I must have done. I love the Batman more than life itself. Also, going back to the fitness stuff, grillandmind.com/Simon. You just go to Simon and get 10% off. Ingredients It's Power 13 Cookbook. Come follow me at Simon Miller 316 on Instagram and Twitter. Send me a DM if you want. It's always fun to chat. On Cameo, if you want a shout out, patreon.com/Simon 316. That's when the gym fail videos are now, as well as other exclusive content. And simonmiller.bigcartel.com for merch. That's all that is. We're done now. This wasn't a massively topical review because, Maverick's been out for a good few weeks, but I don't care. Goodbye.